All right. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday this week. Thank you all for joining our webinar today. Today we're going to be going over category mapping, and we're going to have a special guest, Brian Bush, who is our lead implementation manager here at Flxpoint. We'll be going through how to use the category mapping tools, effective strategies for mapping categories, and then also some tips for channel-specific category mapping throughout all of this. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the Q&A section in Zoom. We'll answer those as we get to them. And then after the category mapping walkthrough, we'll open up the floor to really any specific Flxpoint questions, whether it has to do with category mapping or any of the other aspects of the system. So I'll go ahead and pass this over to Brian, who's going to be walking through all of the category mapping tools that we have.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone. As Justin said, I am our implementation manager lead here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I have a little bit of presentation for you guys. So we have a couple of different ways to manage categories within Flxpoint. And before we get into that, we'll talk about kind of the capabilities of categories within Flxpoint. We allow our Flxpoint users to manage products with the use of primary, secondary, and tertiary categories. That part of the slide is literally there because I like the word tertiary, and you rarely get to use it. We offer 3 unique ways to assist our users in remapping and customizing their categories that match what you'd like to display on your sales channel. And these really just depend on which one you use, really depends on what your use case is and what the situation is. And I'm going to show you which use cases and situations call for which methods. And these ways are done through category mapping directly, mapping sets, and bulk customizations. And like I mentioned, each has their own case and time when they're the preferred solution. The purpose of category mapping and customizations is really just to let you have your categories appear on your sales channel the way you want them to look. You want it to look crisp and clean for your customers, and really that's what our goal is to help you manage that data. Take whatever it is that you might be getting from a vendor or supplier and making it look the way you want to look on your sales channel. So the first tool that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to kind of break out of the slide here in a second, and just work within the system, a Flxpoint account itself, is the category mapping tool that lives within your account. Everyone has access to this. Everyone has access to all 3 of these. Some of them are just a little bit more hidden than others. So within the product catalog and channel listings stages or product stages, users are able to utilize the category mapping tool built within Flxpoint. And that looks like this right here. So if you're inside your products, and you go through those products, you have that view categories button in the top right. This also exists at the channel listing level as well. So you can come in and view products, and it'll be dependent on what products are actually at what stage and whether or not you've actually used this before. So the different ways that we can manage categories here is you could actually merge categories by clicking on these links on the side. So if I wanted to move food and beverage and home and grocery, for instance, I could click these like that. It's going to show me what is the end result. So we're merging food and beverage into home and grocery, and the end result is home and grocery is now going to have everything that exists within food and beverage, and then the secondary categories as well are also going to break out into there. So you can go ahead and do that way. And then you also have the ability, once you click on edit up here, to then just go ahead and if you wanted to make changes directly to any of these categories. So for instance, if I wanted to remove food and beverage and switch it out with food and % beverage, right, you could just go ahead and do that like that. It'll show you the cross out here. And if any new products come in food and beverage, they will automatically be updated to the food and % there, right? You also have the ability to add new primary categories, which you can do by clicking up here. It's going to add you a blank category that you can go ahead and name. So we'll do just primary here. You also have the ability to add secondary categories, which you can do by clicking on a primary category with that plus. And likewise, you can also add a tertiary category by clicking out that. Again, I got to drop that awesome word again. But if you just click that out, you can no longer click this because we don't go down to the 4th level of categories. On Flxpoint, you can only manage up to 3. And from here, you can also merge or move categories. So if I wanted to take this food and beverage, which was a primary category, and move it into a secondary, I can actually do that by moving it from where it was into this new primary. I can do that with general as well. I just made it a tertiary category underneath secondary. So you can actually just come in and drag and drop with this icon here and move them around. And it can show you where this is coming from, you know, what information it is. So there's no inventory categories changed or edited there. So that's the first way of managing your categories. I'll go through this slide and it'll kind of cover some of the stuff I just went over, but we'll go through kind of the use case as well. It allows for the merging of 2 separate categories into a new. It allows for the creation of new categories, and you can easily move your categories between the tiers. And it allows the remapping of categories names, allowing a user to quickly change all products from one category to another. That's that food and beverage or food and drink explanation that we had here. I see there's a question popped up. Let me see here. Do you just hop in these, Justin, whenever you see them, or?
Yeah.
Cool. If I use Utilize, is there any reason to play with categories, which I may want to do, or am I calling for problems? If I do categorization that are a departure from what Utilize did, I want to make sure that tweaking categories don't result in hours of unscrewing it all once the production of. No, that's a good question. Realistically, no, it's not going to cause you any headaches. What you're going to do, it depends on how you're changing it. So if you're changing it within this system that I'm going through right now, any changes you make are just going to update. So if they ever add new products into Utilize, or if they ever rework their categories themselves, as you build those products through, the changes you're making to this category mapping tool will stay consistent across those new products. Some of these other methods that I go over might become more of a headache for you if you add new products, because it won't necessarily go back and make those changes once it's done. So it really depends on what you're looking to get, but there's no real headaches if you're changing the categorization from what Utilize did. At the end of the day, you're sending these products to your sales channel, and how you want your store to look is what's most important. The Utilize stuff is going to help you. It gives you a fuller set of data to play with. But at the end of the day, if you want to go from, computers to PCs, that's not really a big deal. It's however you want to phrase the different categories that you're trying to work with. All right. So moving on. So these slides are just explaining all those tools that I just went over with you guys here. Moving, renaming categories, all that stuff. When to use the category mapping tool. If the changes to the categories are minor in number and the data provided by the suppliers are both similar and robust, with the products properly placed in distinct categories. What do I mean when I'm saying that? I mean that if you actually have defined categories from your suppliers, this tool works really well. If the categories you're getting from your suppliers are closer to general or miscellaneous or anything like that, this tool makes it a lot harder, because if you have disinfectant spray and soda both in the general category, it's really hard to map your disinfectant spray and your soda into the same category and have it make sense, right? Unless your category is literally fluids, which isn't really good for sales. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about robust product data. If you have distinct categories, this mapping tool really works for you. I would also say that if you're looking to edit less than 50 categories, moving them in this manner makes sense. Anything above that would be better suited for a mapping set, which I'll go over next. And if you're looking to move specific categories from being primary, secondary, or tertiary into a different category tier, this tool is your best suited solution for that situation. Okay, I'm going to answer this question as well. There are constantly new products with electronics, new CPU, new RAM. Please review whether or not it would be picked up by the new categories. Did not understand. Yes, so it would. So let me go in here. So let's assume that this category here is our electronics category, right? So you have or any sort of electronics based product, right? And you've gone ahead and you've taken this and you've changed it to be from general to RAM, right? So this is our RAM category. And maybe prior to this, it was what? Random access memory, right? But you just took random access memory and you changed it to RAM. Now, any product that comes into your Flxpoint account with that random access memory category will automatically be rewritten to RAM. So this would, when new products come in, if you reworked it in this tool, it would update those products as they come in. So sorry for any confusion there, but yes, if you have, like I said, robust data, right? If I'm working in general, CPU and RAM. I mean, if you're running an electronics store, probably you want to be separate categories. So if everything is in just one general electronics, you might want to break it out in another manner, which this tool wouldn't be able to do. But I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But if you have robust and distinct categories that you're okay with working, and you're just trying to change the names, or you want to call it something more specific, or like I said, the change between random access memory and RAM, those sorts of changes are very easy to do here, and it will be continually updating as new products come in. So now, moving beyond category mapping, the next solution would be utilizing mapping sets. So utilizing a mapping set is a little bit more complex than mapping in that tool. It's a feature that not everyone knows about on our system, but it's very useful. But what you're going to do is you're going to go into an account, and I'll walk through like I just did with the previous one. But you're going to go into the settings of your account. You'll go into the mapping section, and under templates and rules, there's also sets, and these sets are a lifesaver once you get to use them. If your use case calls for them, this is a really nice tool for you. And basically, what you're able to do within mapping sets is take a convert from value and to a new value. And you could also do this with the CSV upload. You can actually just upload a file that has 2 columns from value to value, and you can go in. And what it does in the end is, if I go in, I could say, I have rifles. I need this to be rifle, right? And I can say that. And then center fire, and I don't know if I'm spelling that right, but right, center fire rifle is also going to go into rifle. And you can just keep on adding these different rules. And what this really comes into play in is, if I have 8 suppliers and they're very, very close together in what they're supplying me data-wise, right? Like the difference between rifles and center fire rifle and long rifles or bolt action rifle, it might be something that you want to have all under rifle, right? So you could just come in and take these different values and just work them out to rifle, right? So now I have these 3 different sets: bolt action rifle, center fire rifles. And if I've said something stupid about guns, I apologize. If you're a gun salesman, I don't know anything about them. I'm just working off of my time here.
Brian, we can't blame you for that. You live in California.
Yeah, I live in California. It's illegal to talk about guns here. But you can take all those different categories and move them to a new value. And once you have that, you actually want to take that and you can put that mapping set into one of your mapping templates, whether it be, and there's 3 places you can really do this. You can do it in your builders, between your listing and product builder, where you would just come in here and you say, okay, category 1 is actually going to work from our category 1 mapping set. And you apply this mapping set here. It's going to read all those from values, and it's going to send them to the 2 values and update all your products there in the builder. So that would be between, in this case, it's a listing builder. So it would happen between the product catalog and the channel listing stage is when that data would happen. Now I could also apply that mapping set on import as well. So I could apply it at the source level within that source mapping template. And you could also do it on the publish level as well when I'm sending that data out to your sales channel. Now, I personally don't like doing that as a use case because I want to see the data within Flexpoint before I send it out. But there are some situations where that mapping set on the output would be useful. Apologies for going fast. I've yet to do a webinar. It's been a long time, so I'll try to slow it down a bit.
So we'll have this. This is recording. This will be posted by the end of the week to our YouTube channel and our Flexpoint webinars website page. So you'll be able to review these and follow along with Brian as well. And then we had some other questions here pop up too. Can we create a category mapping to exclude products from a channel based, for example, on price, not a usual category? So unless you're really, you probably wouldn't want to do it this way. If you're trying to exclude products from a channel based on price, it's probably much better to do this at a filter level when you are building them to your channel and excluding those from the products that you build to that channel. That's likely the easiest, is we can set a saved filters. You know, say if you're building to Walmart and you don't want products over $5,000, you can have a Walmart filter that basically excludes any products that are above 5,000.
And another way to deal with that as well, and again, it wouldn't really be category based, but you could actually plug in an import blocker on that source as well. So if I came in here, I can actually create a rule that says if cost is greater than I'm missing my eyes. Oh, right. So if cost greater than 5,000, then do not import, right? Set to true. So that would be how you would handle that. You wouldn't really handle that with a category mapping, but there are different ways to handle it. If you want that product on Walmart and not on something else, you wouldn't do this here. But if you don't want that product at all in your Flexpoint account, you'd probably just block it from import at all so that you don't have to deal with it. But when you're going in, like Justin said, if you were building specifically to Walmart, you can create your Walmart product filter, and then inside those filters, one of them can be based off of cost greater than less than 5,000, right? Because we want to exclude products greater than 5,000. So you would just save that filter. And you could add other filters that, has an image, has quantity, whatever other filters you want to have on that. But then you could just click on your product filter. And of course, something's going to go wrong here. But that would be the way to handle that. You wouldn't handle it through categories. And awesome. Then, thanks, Brian. Yeah. And I see another question. I'm using inventory source. I've done the category mapping there. However, there are items grouped in a category called general there. Can I further segment those items from general into specific categories in Flexpoint? You can. It's labor intensive. It'll be the next one I touch on, actually, now that we've kind of gone through mapping sets and how you would utilize those. Let me go over the use cases of mapping sets, and then I'll go into how you would rework those. But that one is the most labor intensive, but that'll be up next. Okay, so these slides are just going to be going over how to utilize mapping sets and how to put them in. When to utilize mapping sets? Really, the use cases for these are when you have multiple suppliers with like but not identical categories, right? So if you have category 1 from 5 different suppliers and they're food, groceries, cooking supplies, kitchen goods, those can all be changed to food and kitchen. So that would be a good use for it. And the other use for mapping sets that are really useful is when a marketplace requires that categories come in a non-traditional format. So the big ones for this would be, I believe, Gunbroker and Walmart require you to have categories in a very specific way. For instance, Gunbroker actually requires all your categories to be a numerical value. and it correlates to a category in their marketplace. But the mapping set will allow you to change products from categories like guns to 3004, or whatever the correct corresponding category number for that marketplace is. So that's where mapping sets really become incredibly useful and time-saving tools, especially because you can just upload a CSV file with all that information into your Flexpoint account to do that. Now, the last way to handle categories is to rework via a bulk customization. And this allows for the reworking of individual products and placing said products into categories that make sense for the user. This is done by pulling a product export from your Flexpoint account and a bulk customization mapping template. All categories have to be deleted from the products before the bulk customization can be run. So you will have to get Flexpoint involved. You'll have to say, hey, I've tagged these products with delete categories. Can you please delete their categories? I'm trying to update them. But this system is very labor intensive, and this should be your last straw and not your starting point, because you have to manually take these essentially from product to product in a spreadsheet by yourself. And it's difficult. And really, the only example I've actually given for this is when all your products exist within general, right? And I've seen it before, and I'm sure I'll see it again. But really what you would end up doing is you would have to come in, go into your Flexpoint account, set a filter to find your products that are in those categories. Let's see if we have, I'm sure we have some generals here. So I would have to then take these products, right? And I'm just going to do an export of 50, but you would grab all your products that fit under this and bring an export. And I would just take the relevant data that I need for this working. So in this case, I'm going to take the product title, the product categories, and remember your product categories live within the parent product, not within the variant. And I'm also going to add the parent SKU as well, since at the end of the day, this customization is actually done to the parent because the parent is what holds that information. I'm going to leave the variant SKU and the variant title in here, because what it's going to do is it's actually going to allow for me to understand what it is that I'm looking at, so that I know how to map these out, right? So in this case, we have our SKUs here, and then we have our titles, right? So we have some hemp chips, right? So this is food, snacks, chips, right? And you would have to go through and do this for each individual product. And this is why I say this is your last line of defense. But you can see just in this example, just in the first two, right? This is sparkling water hibiscus, right? Flavored waters, right? So like even in these first two examples, that both these products were in general, but there's no way for you to just map this one into food and this one into beverage, right? And I don't even know what bee pollen is as a product, so I'm going to skip that one. But this is food, snacks, popcorn, right? So this one's close to that first example, but it's still different, and you're still going to have to go through and pull this out. So this is some Bloody Mary mix, so beverage, cocktail mix, and there's nothing there. So you have to go through each individual one and map them out. That's again why I say this is your last line of defense. This one is labor intensive. It will take time. I've had many customers tell me that they've spent hours and hours. I've had people hire staff specifically for this, for part-time work. It's not fun. It's not ideal, but this is the best way that we can enable you to fix this. So say you fix all of these products, and I've now given them the correct and proper categories. What I would want to then do is tag these products with a delete categories tag. And then you would go ahead and notify the Flexpoint support team at support@flexpoint.com and say, hey, I need to run a bulk customization on some categories. Can you please delete the categories from the products that I've tagged with delete categories, right? And I realize now I'm in the source inventory stage. You would want to do this in the product catalog stage because you actually can't run a bulk customization at source inventory. So that was my mistake in the example. But what you would then do is once support says, okay, we've deleted those categories for you, let us know if there's any other way of assisting you. You'd be able to then come in and do a bulk customization. You'll upload that spreadsheet back in, right? And you have to have a builder. So I'll create a bulk customization builder for you and just kind of walk you guys through this whole process. So you need to have the bulk customization. So we're going to pull out the parent SKU, right? So that's going to go to the parent SKU column. We don't need to actually put the title in because the title doesn't matter so much to us. We're not actually making any changes to the title, but we do have, right, category 1, 2, and 3. So this would be all you would need to do in this template. You could also put in the variant SKU if you wanted to, but like I said, we're not changing anything on the variant side of things. It's not going to do anything. So just like the title, it exists within the spreadsheet, but there's really no reason for you to map it out. We're not making any changes there. So then you would save that template. We would go back into our product stage, go through the customization process. You select the template, you upload that file, you tell it what format it is. This is a CSV because I just exported it from Flexpoint. And then you would run that product customization. And once that job completes, you would then have updated, in this case, right, I did like 5 of these products, right? You would have updated those products and they would now have the categories you want. Now, the problems with this is, again, as I mentioned, extremely labor intensive. This is your last line of defense. And the other issue you'll have with this is as your supplier adds new products, this is not going to solve for any of those new products. So it may be something you spend, if you have a supplier that's giving you a lot of general products, you might want to do this once a month. The first time you do it, it's going to be a lot of products, right? It's going to be 1,000. It's going to be a massive number. And the second and third times, it's going to be smaller, more manageable. It'll be less labor intensive for you. But you will have to do this for those new products again. So again, this isn't what bulk customizations were really meant to do. I mean, it is what they were meant to do, but categories wasn't, the target for this. And unfortunately, in this situation where we have all these products, and as you can see from our example here, they're just in such a wide array of difference in what those products actually are. There's no way for us to just map this general, unless you were able to go through the spreadsheet and say, okay, all of these actually could just be food and beverage, right? Now, if that were true against all of your general categories or general products, you certainly could just make everything food and beverage, which you could do at a mapping set, and you could do very easily in the category mapping tool that we started with. The problem you'll get to is that while food and beverage might make sense for category 1, it's obviously not going to make sense for category 2, right? Because we have water, we have snacks, we have, cocktail mixes here. There's, the more you break it down, the less general you'll be able to be in how you solve for this. So there are some corners that you can cut, but unfortunately, when the data is provided to you this way, you might be in for a long haul. But once it's done, it should be easier to manage beyond that. So hopefully that helps answer that question. I know that might not be the answer that you may have been excited to hear. I'm with you on that. I've had to deal with that a lot as well. it is a difficult fix, but it is one that I will say that you will find worthwhile once you get through it and do it yourself.
Awesome. Great presentation, Brian. I really appreciate it. If anyone has any other questions, definitely feel free to post them in Q&A, whether it's regarding category mapping or really any other questions on Flxpoint. I do want to share my screen again. There was one question that I had earlier this week that I kind of want to go over. It's a little pro tip specifically for using Gunbroker. As Brian touched on, Gunbroker does have a very specific category structure, and their categories are just a numeric code. And once you code those in the category mapping, all you're going to see is the numeric value. Is normally, if you do this, we're going to push, say like category 2001 to the store. But there's a way that we can modify this a little bit to make it easier for you when you're doing quick references, or maybe there's a new category that your supplier put in and you're like, okay, I need to figure out where this maps to Gunbroker, but I forget what category 2001 is or category 3044. And so that way you're not having to go back to the Gunbroker sheet. And what I've been doing with a few of our Gunbroker customers is we actually prefix the category code with what the category actually is on Gunbroker. So maybe this is camping and outdoors is what equals category 2001 with Gunbroker. So what we do is we split that by an asterisk. So that way, when you save this here in Flxpoint, you will always see what the category name is, and you have that numeric code. And then all we'll have to do is modify the mapping template on the publish to Gunbroker to essentially split this value at the asterisk. So that way we're only sending the numeric code to Gunbroker. So this is what the category mapping would look like for the listings. And if we go to the publish mapping template, this is actually a Shopify mapping template. I don't have Gunbroker set up on my account, but the rule is going to look the same for the category 1 rule. You basically set up a rule that always runs that says split by value asterisk, and then use the rightmost value, which is going to use that numeric code value. So this is just a little pro tip that I found is very useful when working with Gunbroker, because they have a pretty expansive category list, and I don't know anyone who's going to memorize all of those. So this is just a good, easy way to cross-reference the category names with that category list, and then get the proper code to Gunbroker through our publish process. All right. Looks like we had a question just pop in here. If I've utilized in French and English, is mapping the tool to use to ensure that listing the values from the source are not duplicated inventory, adding by mistake the inventory of French and English? I guess that really depends. Are you using French and English on the same website, or are you pushing those to 2 different channels? If we are pushing both to the same channel, we do have to specify one or the other. So you would need to kind of pick one and stick with it, and then likely use a translation tool on your channel. If you are pushing these to do different channels, maybe you have an English website and a totally separate French website, you would then map those very likely separately at the channel listing level, where Brian was showing you we can do category mapping 1 at the product level and 2 at the listing level. So if you are splitting these between 2 channels, doing it at the listing level would be the most effective way to handle that. Unless, Brian, you have any other tips on that part of it?
No, I think you were spot on that. You would have to identify whichever one you would actually keep the quantity from, and then just not utilize the other.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll give everyone another minute or two to put in any other questions, and if anything else doesn't come in, we'll call it a day here. But again, thanks everyone for joining. Like I said, I know we went through a lot, just like all of these. By the end of the week, this will get posted to our YouTube channel, our Flxpoint YouTube channel. You can view all the webinars there, plus our other webinars. I know we're going to be doing some new cool ones coming up with our CEO, Travis. Be on the lookout for those. And then also all of our quick tutorial videos are on our Flxpoint channel they're good. They're all mostly less than 5 minutes, quick snippets to help you with specific tasks within Flxpoint. And then also be sure to check out our webinars page on flexpoint.com. There you can sign up for future webinars, see the schedule for the next upcoming ones, and also get a quick link out to our page to view those past webinars as well. All right. That looks to be it for the questions. Again, thank you everyone for joining. And again, big thanks to Brian for hopping on today and giving us this presentation. I know there's a lot of good information there, so be sure to check the recording of this later this week so you can go through and review it yourself on your own Flexpoint account.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll be back as needed.
Awesome. We'll take you up on that. All right, thanks everyone. Hope you all have a good rest of your day and a good rest of the week.
Have a good one, guys.